Hi everyone, I'm getting set up. I just came out of a meeting, so I'm sorry. I'm like rushing around and made you wait to get in, but we'll have plenty of time for you to work today. And Jenny Shanker will be joining us for the first. Oh, she's right there. She's going to be joining us for the first part. So if you have questions, there's going to be time you can ask her. Let me get my screens up. That one, that one. There we go. All right. So I saw Julie Gunkelman's on here. Julie, if it weren't for your post last night on Facebook, I would have totally forgot that March Madness was on, and I was rooting for Michigan State. So it was a bummer to see that they lost, even though I like Kansas, but I really wanted Michigan State to win. Do we have any Michigan fans here who were happy Michigan State lost? I can't imagine that there's any rivalry. All right. Okay, so let's get to your drive. Okay, so we made it, y'all. This is our last working meeting of the intensive. That doesn't mean that you're like done with all of this, but it's a huge milestone. It really is, because there's a reason I call it the intensive, because that's what it is. I mean, it really is an intense experience. We're doing a lot in a short period of time, making a lot of decisions, and getting a plan of action. We're going to be moving into the accelerator, and the first meeting is going to be April 4th. So I'm going to show you documents today. We're going to explain what the accelerator is and what do you need to have going into it so that it is most beneficial for you. Because my goal is always that you are able to implement in a way that is that doesn't have lots of stops and starts and is not, full of issues, that we can make it smoother and faster if at all possible. Okay, so before we get into all of that, actually, while I'm getting things set up, does anybody have any questions for Jenny? You do, please unmute and let us know.
Yes, I had a quick question for Jenny. What is the resolution, if any, on like these standalone math classes for nursing or something like that? We kind of left that hanging last time when we talked.
Yeah, Gary, I believe that you should focus on the MTA classes and the intermediate algebra and the courses that are frequently taken. I understand about the nursing questions, and I think that's going to need to be unresolved at this point, and we'll have to kind of revisit that. We haven't had a chance to talk with 60 by 30. Hopefully we will be. If I have any information, I'll share it when I do.
Okay, yeah, because all the people that are in those classes, they're not in the transfer ASA, what we call our Associate of Science and Arts program, or going for Michigan transfer agreement.
And are they reconnectors?
Some of them could be.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will elevate that when we have our meeting with 60 by 30, but I have not had an opportunity to do that yet.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mark, what's in behind you? Something motel in your background, Mark Pelfrey?
Oh, it's Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, it's Schitt's Creek.
Oh, is that
It's
what
Rosebud
that is?
Motel.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that? Okay.
I have a whole host of backgrounds to keep things interesting and online classes and office hours and such.
Very smart. Love it.
I'll change them throughout the day.
It's little, and then of course, and students will be like, "Ooh, what's it going to be? What's it going to be?" That's fantastic. Yeah, I went to one of the faculty I used to teach with. He had Wacky Shirt Wednesday, and it was always some kind of math funny shirt or whatever. But it was just like it was just an ongoing thing, and students were always like, "Ooh, what's it going to be this time?" So anything we can to engage them, we're all for that. Oh, I forgot to mention, please hover over your name and the participants, and if you could add your college abbreviation, if you want to add, like advisor, faculty, whatever. That's always helpful because then I know what school you're at. Okay, got a lot of people. All right. So, all right, so let's get, I'm showing you the drive. I want to make sure you have, where's the drive link? Hang on. The link. Give everybody that link again so that I know you can't see it, but okay, so link. All right, you go to the chat, you can go to the drive. We're going to start where we always do. Hopefully I didn't edit that link. Hopefully it's loading correctly. Once you get into, thank you, Erin. I was counting on you. You can tell me if we're on the straight and narrow or not. Once you get into the drive, please go into the folder intensive meeting documents. And then, oh, and I don't know if any of you are as anal retentive as I am, but I did an edit to your the name of your schedule last time. I took off the AE, and so I noticed like they weren't okay. If without it, not all my schedules 1 through 6 were showing up nicely. They were all like all over the place, and I was like, I'm just too anal retentive. I'm like, where's schedule 5? Because I forgot something in the label. Anyway, neither here nor there. Please go to schedule 6. Make a copy of it, make a copy and put your school's name in it as always, and then go put it in your folder on this drive so that because you will be working in that document in a little bit. So this is what it looks like. Okay. And I know there's only one person from each school that needs to be doing that, but this is something I need everyone to do. Next is attendance, which I can't spell. Okay, so attendance form is in the chat, and that's really quick. As always, while you're doing that, I'm always checking is if you are here and your college is not listed on the screen, let me know and we will make sure it is so that you have a breakout room. Or just let me know in the chat if you're like, I'm from college, whatever, and it's not listed there. Speaking of colleges, so, and I don't, is this intensive meeting? This is 6. Gary, so if you go to intensive meeting documents, schedule 6. And so it's in that folder. And actually, Gary, someone from it might've been a dean from your school emailed me. Because I think JB wasn't able to be here last time. You guys didn't have a schedule 5. So I copied one and made one and put it into your folder for Muskegon. Yeah, 5 is there and you just need to make 6. Okay. So we have lots of like odds and ends before you're going to get a chance to, and we're going to be polling you. I've got 3 polls today that I need information from you. They're all quick, but need some input from you. Just lost my voice. One thing that we're going to try to do is offer another intensive. Now, you guys have all been through this process, but there were some schools that they came to the kickoff meeting that we had in January and they weren't able to participate in this. It wasn't the right time and they had other things they were that they're working on. And there were some of them that asked, could we have another offering? If you know of anybody at another college, we are getting the word out. But if you know someone that's like, oh yeah, I've got a friend that works at that college and she wishes, she could be a part of this. If we get enough people, enough schools that are interested, we're going to do another intensive like this from late May to the second week of August. So if anybody's been wanting to participate, they just need to let us know, because we may do that again. Okay. All right. So the goal for today is this is where we're headed towards. As we end the intensive, we go into what I call the accelerator. The accelerator is about helping you implement your plan as easy and as quick as possible and as pain-free as possible. Okay, since I do a lot of these, I do a lot of these with schools, and I see the schools that have, that are able to implement more easily than others. One key thing is knowing what we're working on, who's working on it, and when. Because some schools, I will ask them like, okay, what are you working on? And they're like, I don't know, like we generally need to be working on co-reps. But if another school might be like, we need to get this course approved in January. That's a very different thing. And it makes it a lot easier to do when you know exactly what needs to be done, when, and by whom. So your goal for today is to have those details, to have to finish up getting the details. And we will get there in just a second. But what I want you to, if you're thinking like, where are we supposed to end up? Before April 4th, when I see you at the first accelerator meeting, your goal is to have a whole bunch of tasks. And if you're filling out the tables as I've been having you do, which we will be doing today, and I'll show you where they are and everything, but your goal is to have made decisions so you know these are the tasks that we need to complete, such as we need to create a guided self-placement tool, or we need to get this approved, or we need to train this group of people. I want you to have tasks like that that are very tangible. You know who is responsible for them, and you know when they need to be worked on. And then you can, one by one, get this plan going, and it's nowhere near as arduous as just like trying to change things on the whole. So that's where we're headed for today, is specifics. That's where we're going to get to. What you're going to get is at that meeting, April 4th meeting. And if you're wondering where the dates are for the next meeting, I'll show you that in just a second, because we have those dates for you for April, May, June, when we're meeting. I'm going to give you a document called a blueprint. And what you're going to have is a way to input all this. It's just going to be copy and pasting a little bit. It's not going to be anything arduous, but you're going to copy and paste different things into it. So you will have this map, and it will show you, it'll have a timeline. It'll show you the major milestones you're working on, who's working on, when you're working on, and it'll just lays out what is the work that needs to happen. Regardless of how far along you are in this process, everybody's doing something, and it will make it clear what is your school doing. So that's where we're building up to. Okay, so before we get into all of that, and you have time to work in your groups today and finish making decisions, and like, okay, we've made the decision, now who's going to do it? That's going to be the big thing today. Lots of volunteering people. You can do that, or I'll do that, or whatever. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. But before then, we need some information from you. And one is, I'm going to put this in the chat. I need you to go to this form, and this one's real. And actually, we just need one person from each school to do it. So if you want to just like Barbie Hoag will often say, okay, I'm doing the one for Oakland. If you want to say in the chat who's doing it for your college, this form, all we need to know is what is your college's SIS, Student Information System. So type your college's name, type Banner, PeopleSoft, Genzabar, whatever. Okay. We just need one for each college. If we have more than one, it's not the end of the world, but not everybody has to do it. That's the point. I get this question often when we get down into the weeds of either you're programming for the first time or your programming is not working and you've been doing it for a while and you're like, surely someone has got this working. Yes, there's always someone who is getting their system to do things that maybe another college hasn't been able to do. A lot of things in these student information systems, these SIS, is being creative with the functions that they have. And there's all kinds of things they can do, but it may be not obvious how to make them, pair a course in a certain way, or have a pop-up, or show an error message in a certain way, or have students register for things in a certain way. If you're struggling with a particular system, I like to pair you up with people that have solved that problem, and then we can get it moving quicker for you. Okay. I'm out of curiosity while we're doing that. Is there anybody that programming or in their system is a major task that they're going to be working on, or something that needs addressing? Is anybody in that boat? Like making Banner do what you want it to do? Is anybody in that one?
Yes, I've already gotten emails from people in our academic affairs that, you know, like having high school GPA as a qualifier to require the co-rec isn't possible in colleague when, you know, other colleges are doing it. So.
And I think usually, and I mentioned this last time, but this is typically it is, usually things are possible. And some colleges doing it. And when someone says we can't do it, it often means we don't know how to make it happen in our system. And so that's why I'm happy to pair you up with someone who's already done it. And this is the beauty of all being on Zoom. A lot of times you can bring up a screen and somebody else in another school, they'd be like, oh, we do it this way. We program it this way. One little change and it can unlock a whole bunch of stuff and make things much easier. Okay. All right, next poll. This we need one person to do for each college, but this is about using Alex PPL. Okay, so currently Michigan already has a somewhat reduced rate, like the national price for Alex PPL for 1-year access is $25. Michigan, because, and Jenny, it's like 20 some odd thousand codes you guys use a year, right? Because of that, 24,000, your price is $20 a student. Okay. So there is a possibility that we can get the price to come down more, but we have to have more people using it. But I don't want you to tell me, oh yeah, we're going to have 1,000 people use it. We need to realistically know if Alex was available to you, Alex PPL, would you actually use it? And how many students would use it? So I'm putting in the chat. Yes. Okay. So this form, and I got myself fancy last night making this in Google form. So this is a branching form. You're going to put your institution name in, and then you're going to just tell me, do you use Alex PPL right now? Yes or no? Okay, depending on what you say, you get a different set of questions. If you say yes, I'm going to ask you to estimate how many people are using it, if you know, otherwise don't. And if you say no, I want to know, are you considering going to it? And if so, how many students do you think would use it? So someone from each school, take a minute and please fill out that form. And I didn't retitle it. That's really grand. Okay, so this is Alex use. Oops. Okay. Now it says the right thing. Oh my God, and it still has the, okay, I must have been doing this when I was watching basketball. Okay. Is anybody else really into March Madness? I'm just curious, who are my other like super big basketball fans? Because like, I was so glued last night. My husband was trying to sleep and I'm screaming because Gonzaga came back right at the end, 12 seconds left, and they made it happen. So. Yes, but my bracket was busted first round. Yes, there's a lot of bracket busting. Okay, which figure skating? Me too, Emily. I love figure skating. Huge fan. MSU. Yeah, it just came up short. I missed it. They went into overtime. Okay, so Just want to get some input on that on Alex. And I'm curious, is there anybody that wants to unmute and share, like, is there anyone that's like, yes, we have decided we're switching to this and this is how we're going to use it? Anybody in that camp? Or not, because you don't have to. It's whatever you guys want to do. I also took bowling in college. Excellent. All right. Okay, so I think we're getting results on that. Then the last one is we're going to do this by chat. I'm going to introduce it, and then I'm going to have Britt from Bay College speak more to it. And I love this. Please know you can, I love what Britt did, and you can do the same thing. If there's something like, well, this is what we're doing. We'd love to know what other people are doing. This is what the whole purpose of this group is, that we can crowdsource information. So Britt, I'm going to have you explain it, but it's about how you're placing your dual enrollment students. You want more information on that, correct? Okay, so go ahead and share what information you need.
Thanks, Kathy. We've been at Bay College. We're currently using a 2.5 high school GPA or higher to put students into our first level, either intermediate algebra or liberal arts math, or the co-rec. And we've been asked to explore what to do for our dual enrolled students that, of course, don't have a 2.5 high school GPA yet or not. Because right now we're still using some sort of placement score for those dual enrolled students. So I emailed Kathy because I tried to go out into the Google documents to find what you all are doing for your dual enrolled placement, but I couldn't really find too much. So I'm just curious what you are using for your dual enrolled students. Are you using some sort of version of a GPA? Are you leaving up to the high schools? Are you still using some sort of placement?
If you want to, you can, if anybody knows the answer to this, go ahead and put your college name in the chat and you can say what you guys are doing. Or if anybody wants to unmute and share, about anything, or that you're figuring this out yourself.
Yes, I've received about 8 or 10 emails in the last week from our various early college advisors, which is kind of a form of dual enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of beside themselves as to what to do here, because, well, they haven't finished high school, so how can we say they have a high school GPA of 2.5, something like this? But traditionally, we would have put them in this class, but that class no longer exists. And what are we going to do now? That sort of thing. And so, I mean, I think my personal opinion on this is that, and especially what we're seeing in Muskegon, different high schools have different rules as far as what that district is going to pay for and things like that. So I think we just have to leave it up to those districts and those high schools and say, here are the courses we offer. And we can give them some advice if they want, but I don't think we can make the rules for them when they're the ones kind of paying for the program.
Jenny, is there anything you can add to this or speak to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, there are statewide guidelines for students for requiring districts to pay for dual enrollment. And then the rules are permissive off of that. But there are some, if you look up in MDE, there are in the Michigan Department of Education, I'll go get it in a second. But there's SAT scores, ACT scores, Accuplacer scores that mean that the district has to pay for dual enrollment if they want to. They have to pay for dual enrollment if the student is interested in participating. Most districts pay for students who have lower scores. So I think the comment to go district by district is probably the right way to go. And my advice, I mean, I admire the desire to include the high school students in your guided self-placement plans. But my suggestion would be to not fixate on this, but instead to just, kind of put that aside and continue to use whatever you have been using for dual enrollment students and get into talks with your districts and focus on other students as you start putting that together. That would be my advice.
Does anybody other have any comments or questions about this? 'Cause it sounds like several schools are in the same boat.
So a colleague of mine has been working with dual enrollment just in general. I wouldn't be able to comment directly to the math portion. However, what they have found is there is not consistent policy, even from high school to high school, on when they will or won't pay. It's so I think it would be difficult to have one or even two policies, because it would almost change school to school as to what their policy is, what they will or won't include. That is just, has to do with dual enrollment work that he's doing to re-up on many of those initiatives.
And it may be that we will end up needing a policy fix on dual enrollment if we have a critical mass of schools transitioning away from using AccuPlacer or SAT to place students either in a, to place students. And so that's another reason to kind of to put off and manage it how you have been managing it, I think.
Right, and when you're talking about schools moving away from SAT and AccuPlace, you're talking about the community colleges.
I'm talking about community colleges. I'm
Right.
talking about
Because
the work that
my-
you all are doing, that you're trying to move away from using those scores, and which is exactly what we want you to be doing, and that's fantastic. But it is problematic when you try to fold dual enrollment students in that are operating under some other kinds of more restrictive policy conditions.
Right, and that's essentially what I told a few of the early college dual enrollment advisors, was that, I can't really give you a specific number because we're moving away from that. And for SAT, AccuPlace or things like that. And a lot of the courses they were asking about, we're no longer teaching because we're not doing intermediate algebra anymore and things like that. So I think it's just going to be something that there's going to be a year or so where everybody figures out what's going on with all these new courses. After that, we'll figure out which students need to be in math for liberal arts, college algebra, statistics, which are the 3 targets anyway.
Right. And then, the question I think for districts, that's traditionally high schools have not paid for developmental courses. So students who would be placed in developmental courses would not be taking dual enrollment in general, is my understanding. And then, so what does that mean for students who would be taking co-requisite courses? Would the high school pay for a co-requisite course? And I think that's, right now has to be decided district by district.
Thank you, Kathy, for giving us the time. Just to give everyone a little history of why I'm asking, there's a university that is going to offer direct credit instead of dual enrollment so that the high school teacher is teaching the class, but also potentially removing any prereqs or placement from requirements to do so. And so as at Bay, we've been asked to reevaluate so that we don't lose all of those students that we currently are using to that said university. So I was just curious what other community colleges are doing for their dual enrollment or middle, early college students. So thank you, Kathy.
No problem. And I just had this with another group of schools earlier this week. We were crowdsourcing some very specific information about, like, do you do pass fail on co-rec, or how are you getting people to get into your boot camps? If there's ever anything you guys want like that, I'm happy to put it out to the group, because that's the whole point of this, that we're sharing from each other and trying to save you time. Because it is hard emailing everybody and trying to and if you know this, and I know, because I'm sure, Britt, you're in this boat. I bet a lot of people have done this. You go to other schools' websites, good luck ever finding what you want to find. You can't find it on your own website, you can't find it on their website either. So, this is a faster way to do it. Okay, so we're going to talk about the accelerator in just a second. But before we do that, is there anything that has come up since the last time that we met that you want to troubleshoot or you need help with at your school? Some kind of current issue with your redesign that you are working through?
I just have a quick good news.
Ooh, love it.
We did meet with our academic vice president / provost / whatever else her title is. And she was very, because right now we're just saying all these things are recommended for the co-recs, and it's not working very well. And so she was very supportive of changing it to that if your GPA is below 2.5, we're going to require that you take the co-rec course.
Mm,
So she was very supportive of that,
excellent.
which surprised me a little bit, but it was good news.
Oh, that just made me think of something. There was a school this week that I learned that their plan is to do, they're adding a very small fee. I don't know the amount. I know I heard it was small. They're adding a very small fee to the gateway courses that have co-requisites that every student pays, so that any student can essentially take the course. There's no additional cost for them. They're doing it. So you don't have students trying to weigh, do I want to pay for it or not? I just thought that was interesting. It's subtle things like that. But and also I know this because I remember years ago in my college having to try to get funding for a particular initiative we were working on. It does not take a very high fee. I mean, even like $5 or $2 can accumulate a lot and do quite a bit. So yes, Gary. I thought you unmuted for something.
Oh, hit the
No?
wrong button.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have, well, I love good news, so feel free to share that. We're always needing that. Or anybody else have something they want to problem solve with the group or need help with? No. All right. Door's always open and you're going to have time to work. And if you want help later, let me know. All right. So in the drive, I always show you this document, but is now been updated to have more information. So if you go to the drive, the MiMath reform kickoff, it used to say and Q1 info. Now it says Q1, Q2. So if you go to that document and you scroll down on page 3, you got information on the accelerator and what that is and when that's starting. So same Zoom link. We have the dates. You will notice that they're just an hour-long meeting. So you might be wondering, okay, what are you going to do and how are we going to get anything done in an hour? Like, how does this work? Okay, so this is the intent of what these meetings are going to do. The idea is I want to help you continue to make progress and it not be this very overwhelming thing. So the way to do that is to have built-in accountability, but not like huge all the time meetings. So it becomes even more to your schedule. So what we do is we're going to meet regularly twice a month. 1 hour of the month is going to be on systems implementation work. So that's things like anything at the college level. So, banner issues or data or advising or whatever college level things that you're working on. On the other meeting, we're going to talk classroom stuff. So that is, and it's funny, I just came out of a meeting, we did this with another group and we just had a jam board and we were sharing all these different things about engaging students. Every time that we work on the classroom piece, we're going to be talking about practical things that anybody can use. And it's not like me giving you the answers from on high, because it's not like I have that. We're all going to be sharing with each other as peers. And we'll have a topic each time. And so the classroom one thing I'm curious to, has anybody received an email from your received an email from my team recently about modern math access? Did anybody get this? Because it would go to whoever your math contact or your point person is in the math department. So usually the chair.
Yes, I got that. It went to my junk box.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so glad that you told me that. So check your junk and spam email because I want to mention what modern math is. And you did not get it, Ria. Okay, anybody, and you are saying it came mid-February? Okay, that came early. Heather, thank you for letting me know. SMC, is that Southwest Michigan? Yes, okay, so Ria, we need it resent. Okay, there's anybody that needs it resent or didn't get it or died someplace or whatever, let me know. And because I'll have Debbie, my assistant who manages modern math, she will resend it. So I could use a 2, Mark. Okay. 3. Maria. Okay. Britt. Okay. Yes. So Jessica. So what we'll do is the email, it's basically like, hey, you have now lifetime access to Modern Math. So what is Modern Math? And I will show you more when we actually have the first classroom meeting, but I want you to know that it exists and you have access now. Aaron Schufro. All right. We will get that. Okay. So God bless the pandemic. I mean, it's been a horrible thing and a lot of people died and a lot of people got sick and it was awful, but there were a few things that were positive that came out of it. And one of it is we all had to learn how to do some things differently and teach differently. So my business at that time was really, we created a lot with Maria Anderson, which many of you know, I contracted her for all kinds of things and we offered all kinds of professional development. How do you teach courses in math, in STEM, like flipped? How do you teach them online? How do you teach them async, synchronous, all these ways, how you engage students in different ways. What we did was, as the pandemic went on, and so there was less of a need for that, but people were like, well, we like professional development. Over time, I've contracted lots of faculty. And if you were sitting here going, ooh, I like doing that. I like creating materials, or I like creating professional development, reach out to me. I'm always looking for people who do this kind of thing, who like to teach others or who like to create tools or whatever. So what I've had is over the last 3 years, we've built out this site that you have access to forever. So the email that goes out to the math department chair has your college login and password that all full and part-time math faculty and it says, please forward this to them. They all get access to it for as long as we have this. Okay. And that's why I want to make sure I resend it to you. If you have anybody who's like, I don't want to have a college access, I want to have my own login, you just have to let us know and we will build you your own login. Because one of the things you can do is we have within the training, we've got all kinds like these courses like that Maria did. We've got all these on-demand courses and they have multiple pieces in it. And you might want to like be able to see where did I last leave off and where am I picking up? What do I need to watch next? If you have your own login, it will track where you're at with everything. So it's all explained in the email that you will get and that I will resend. I'm just resending it right now. I've got Ria, Mark Pelfrey, Maria, Britt, Aaron. Heather, there's definitely no charge. But I'm wondering if you got one of the emails, but maybe there was a second one that you shouldn't have gotten. But Heather, I made a note and we'll get that to you. I will show you different things in it, but I just want you to know if you have access to it, it's funny. We have people that will get in here and they're like, oh my God, it's just a lot of cool stuff you can use. You don't have to pay for any of it and you can use it. So there's training in there. There's all kinds of activities that are ready to be made. I contracted people to make what I call non-Googleable problems. So if you're ever like, oh, I want really interesting problems that are not just something you can just do on PhotoMath, but I don't either have the time or interest in creating all those problems, I contracted people to make bulk sets of really interesting problems. Also, Maria has a full curriculum in here. Maria Anderson it's called the Contemporary Math Collection, and it's college algebra content that is more contemporary, hence the name, but she's got videos, assignments, note sheets, all kinds of stuff. So, on all that free time that you guys have, because you're not doing anything, joke, at some point when you have free time, explore it. Or in some meeting, not this one, that you're not enjoying yourself. That would be a great time. Go explore it then. But I didn't say that. Okay. Anyway, so you're going to have, let's see. Yes. And I will. So let's see. From Lansing. Okay. Sweet. All right. So back to the sheet, where are we at? Okay, so in the accelerator, what we do is one of the meetings is on systems. So what you're going to do is every time you're going to come in, I have a live Google sheet that you will be asked to give an update. And you're going to say, I should show you the ones I have from the schools I've been doing this with right now, where actually, is that oh, I will show you. So you can see what it looks like. Okay, So I don't know, is that a FERPA violation? I don't think so. Let me scroll over. That way you can't see the college's name. Okay, so what I have them do each month is I have them write in, okay, what have we been working on? Systems level. Now this group I'm working with math and English, but whatever. Systems level and then classroom level. What have we been working on? What do we need to do next? Where do we need help? And so what it allows you to do is make consistent progress. What they really like, and they actually said this today, and I was like, yes, you can see as the months pass, what have we actually been doing? And when you have an administrator that says, what have you been doing? You can show them this and you can say, see, these are all the things that we've been doing every single month. But it allows you to actually see movement when sometimes it doesn't feel like much is happening. And if much isn't happening, this will show it to you and be like, guess we got to work on some stuff. So what makes this work? Knowing what you need to work on. So that's why the goal of today is to get your, list of what are the things you need to work on. So you can say, we went and got this approved or whatever. Okay. So, so what we always do is we start with in those meetings, and those hours will go quick. These are very quick meetings. They're meant to be useful to you. So you give me a status update. We'll problem solve, troubleshoot, whatever you need to. And then I typically do, like, if there's anything that's like just in time that I can teach you that might be really helpful at that time of the year, I will do like quick information on some small lesson to teach you that would be something that would be helpful at that time. Okay. For the classroom level one, I typically show something that's in modern math, so because it's easy to forget it exists and that you have access to it. So I show people different things that are in there available to them. And then we always do something where we will definitely troubleshoot anything that's going on in the classroom that you want to get input from other people on. Okay, we're trying this and it's not working, or we're trying this and it is working. But then we also do some kind of mini professional development each time. So both cases, the hour goes quick, a lot happens, and it's to benefit you either making progress with your implementation or making your classroom work better. That's what it's about. Okay, this is not going to be everything to get your implementation done. So one of the things that you will do in the systems meeting is you will work. So it says you will share an update and you will plan. So you've got your core team. Your core team is going to come to these. There's 2 meetings a month. They're going to come to it and you're going to talk about, okay, what do we need to do between now and the next meeting? When are we going to work on it? It just gives you a chance to set that up and make it happen. You'll still have to do work outside of these, but this is something that helps keep you on track. Unlike your coach in this case, or like your personal trainer. Who should attend? I would love if your core team could come to both meetings each time. At minimum, and I know that's in real life, that doesn't always happen, especially as we get into summer and people have vacations and stuff. At minimum, we need an administrator, someone from student services and someone from faculty to attend so that we can get a status update on what's happening. And even if you're like, well, I can't attend, you can send someone in your place with your update. Okay. But we need to know, like, what have you guys been doing and what do you need help with? And then in terms of the classroom meeting, you can have any math faculty you want come to that. You could have more than your core team because it's meant to be something that's useful to anybody in your department that's teaching. Okay, so Gary, your modern math login is Kellogg. Is that a problem? I would say yes. I would say yes. So we're going to fix that. Okay, so Muskegon should not be Kellogg. Okie dokie. Glad I asked y'all. We will get that fixed. And Nicole, I saw your message you sent me, and we will get a lot of things fixed. All right. Questions you have about as we move into the accelerator. Bless you, Erin. I've seen you sneezing multiple times, and each time I want to say bless you. All I've been doing this week is sneeze. Okay, any questions, comments, or requests as we move into the accelerator? Unmute or put in the chat. All right, well, if you do, let me know. Okay, so next thing, let's get to work on let's finalize the work that you're going to be doing and what the rest of today is going to look like. Is it okay to ask for release time for all your reformers? So Gary, you're asking for like for yourself and your faculty? Because absolutely, there's a lot of, it's funny. I never got paid out of a grant for any of the work I did when I did reform work for my college, but I would often get release time, which still costs money. But it is totally fair to ask for that. Sometimes, especially if you have one person who is doing a lot of like creating course outlines or going through approvals or something like that, they might get a little bit of release time or a stipend of some sort. So that's not crazy to ask for that. All right, so I want you to go to your schedule 6. Okay, so we've talked about how the accelerator works and what the intent is. What we're going to be doing today is you're going to be finalizing your academic and your student affairs plans. You may have decisions made, but maybe you don't have all the details, or you may not always have all the decisions made. So you're going to have time to work on both. We're going to do something different though with breakouts. So if you're off doing an email, come back to me so you can hear how we're going to work on this. I'm going to, after we get this initial, we're going to do a little bit more together, and then I'm going to send you to breakouts. You're going to be in breakouts until a quarter till, what is it? 4 your time? It'll be a quarter. So basically an hour from now. And we're going to come back together when there's 15 minutes left. And then we're going to share out and next steps and everything and where you're at with your plans. And we're going to look at some people's their plans. And so we can, so you can just get a better sense of where I'm needing you to get to. So we are going to come back together after breakouts. All right. So this is what I would like you to do. If you're on schedule 6, okay, please go back to, we always do this, go back to schedule 2, it's in your folder, and copy your goal, because it's always good to see what's the goal. Why are we doing all this beyond just the state made me do it? Okay. Like, what are we actually, why are we doing this? The next thing you need to do is pull up schedule 4, and there's an academic affairs planning table. Okay, so I'm going to go get Muskegon so you can see there. So if they go to schedule 4, and they go to, here we go. So academic affairs planning table, just copy this whole table and put it here, well, actually right down here. You're going to copy that table and put it here. The idea with it is all those things that are in italics that are on a table are my questions that I'm asking you. And some of you have already done these things. Some of you haven't. You're all in different places. Anything of those questions that you need to complete, that's a decision you need to make. Type it in there. But here's what you need to add to it. Who is going to be responsible for that milestone? So meaning like if I pick for like this milestone, add delete courses to achieve new flowchart. Okay, let's say in your school, someone needs to do that. There's probably multiple people that are going to work on it, but we need one person who is going to be responsible for making sure that it got done. Doesn't mean they're the only person that works on it. Okay, so who is going to be responsible for it? When are you going to work on that? Is that like, okay, we got to do that this month or whenever? And whatever it is what you've typed here when you answer these questions. That's the what, but type, when are we going to work on it? Who is going to be the person who's responsible for it? And then put your ultimate deadline on it, whatever. And you can just do month and year. You don't have to do an actual day. Okay, so you're going to do that. So if there's anything that's not finished with that table, you need to finish it. Okay. The other piece is your student affairs planning or student services. So in this one, you're going to go to your, let's go with Oakland. Let's pick theirs. So you're going to go to your schedule 5. This is what we did last time. And you're going to go get your student affairs planning. Okay. You're going to copy this table. And the reason I'm having you do this, if you're like, why are you making us go back and forth? So you don't have to go back and forth. I want you to get them all in one place so that you have it in one document going forward. That's why I'm having you do that. Okay, so copy that table and put it here. You're going to probably see things that's like, we don't have an answer to that. That's what you got to figure out. And whatever you think you can figure out today, do it. What you can't, you need to make a note. When are we going to figure this out? Like, you know, if there's a decision that needs to be made, who do you need to talk to next week or whenever? And again, fill out who is going to be responsible for the milestone, what's going to happen, when, and the ultimate deadline, month and year that it needs to happen. Okay, so the goal of today is that regardless if you have every single cell in those two tables filled out, you should still have plenty of tasks in both of them that show you where are things that need to happen. So you know what it means to work on your plan. You can see the tasks that need to happen. Lots of copy and paste. Yeah, I hate that's the only problem, and I'm going to improve that for the next go around, the next intensive. But for this time, we do have a lot of copy and paste, so I apologize. Okay, so let's do this. So that's what questions do you have just about your plan? Does anyone have anyone, or is there a particular item in it that your group is really struggling with? If you could let me know that. If you want me to come and help you with a particular item, let me know in the chat. Like I worked with, gosh, I can't remember which school. I think it was Lake Michigan. I think we worked last time. One of the issues we needed to work on was programming, and there's some different programming changes. And so we were problem solving how we're going to do that. If there's something you need help with, let me know. Okay, so let's get the breakout room. So what we're going to do is you're going to be in breakout rooms until, I'm afraid I don't see meeting 6 in Kellogg's folder. Okay, so Jenny, meeting 6 would be from today. If someone in your school hasn't made it yet, you can go ahead and make it. Go to the intensive meeting documents and copy schedule 6. All right, so that's not what I want. Here we go. Let's get rooms up. Okay. So, and while you're doing that, I'm going to be getting your information to Debbie so we can start getting emails back out to you guys about Modern Math so you can get logged in. Okay, so we need, in theory, 16. And you can choose your room. Okay. All right, so I'm creating these. I'll open them in just a second. We're going to come back together at a 1/4 till. So you're going to have like 50 minutes to work on this. Let me know if you need help with anything. I will pop in wherever you need help. We're going to come back together at 1/4 till the hour, 1/4 till the next hour, and look at some of these from you and like, where are we at with things? What information do you still need to get so that we can make the accelerator work for you? That's what I'm trying to get to. Okay. Thank you, Jenny. All right, here you go. So they should be open.
Kathleen, I'm trying from my tablet again today. Can
Oh,
you
yeah.
possibly
So-
throw me into number 9?
Sure can. So where's Pam? There's Pam. Okay, assign to 9.
And you know what? Before you send me, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Can you just verify for me, as of fall 2023,
Mhm.
any of the Dev Math classes cannot be taken, even co-requisite Dev Math cannot be taken by a Reconnect student, correct?
A Reconnect student cannot be made to take any Dev Math, but they can take a co-rec.
They can.
Yes, yeah, it's fine. They just couldn't be like in a standalone like beginning algebra, but if you were in something that's like, college algebra co-rec, they can absolutely do that.
Okay, but if it's a beginning algebra co-rec, they cannot.
If it's a co-rec for something else, they can be in it. They can be in a co-rec class as long. The main thing is they need to be in a class that gets college credit with or without a co-rec, but that's the thing, something that gets
College level credit, not college credit, but college level credit.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else need me to place you?
Hi, Kathleen. How are you today? My name is
Good.
Celeste Bogan. Hi. I was working with our team prior to fall, but I fell and broke my leg.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yes, and so I got off the team team, so to speak. And all this came about while I was in recovery mode. So somebody sent me the link to the meeting today. So I finally got back in, and hopefully we'll be getting back in on the team. So I need sign in, and I guess on your add it to your email list.
Okay.
I'm from Oakland Community College.
You're from Oakland. All right. Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I will. So what I'm going to do is I'll get you added to everything, and I'm also going to get you into Oakland's room.
Thank you.
Okay. Celeste Bogan. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You want my email?
Yeah, that'd be great.
C as in cat, L Bogan at oaklandcc.edu.
All right.
So I would need help to get into modern math and all that stuff if it's possible.
Yes.
Or if Oakland Community College has their own sign in, I'll work with that also.
Yeah, whoever
Whichever one.
your chair is that would have gotten that login. I mean, if you ask them, someone has it. If you guys all have an Oakland login, and they can just share it with you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much because you put me in the room, and I appreciate it.
Yes, let me put you
Thank you.
in 9. There you go.
While people are coming back, Kathy, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So one thing we talked about in our breakout session was we were going back and forth on how we're going to put, or if we're going to put some kind of cap on these co-rec courses that we're building, primarily because these will be students who will need so much support. Has your organization done any research, or is there any kind of standards or best practices that anybody else has used for how many people you're allowing in these co-rec courses? Probably not the same number as the course itself, but we're not sure if anybody's done any of that legwork.
What's your current cap size on classes, college and developmental?
24 for most classes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ria.
Yeah, it's 24 for face-to-face classes, and currently our college arithmetic, it's capped at 20. So, and that one will be, of course, being phased out, and they'll be put into a co-rec. So, I don't know. What we were chatting about was the fact that, like our Dr. Howell, who's on this meeting too, said that the fewer number of students, the more sections we have to have, which is more people that have to staff them and more rooms that will be needed. So, you know, what's a wish and what's feasible for this, for what we have available. But we just didn't know if there was already some best practices that
I mean, informally, I'm curious if others, if you have your class size for your co-recs, if you want to throw that in the chat, that would be great. I mean, I don't know that there's been, actually, it's funny. I bet there's a recent Texas study that just came out that study. It's funny. I've still got to get to all of you guys. I'm summarizing. I've been sick all week and I was out of town last week. So I am like behind, but I'm catching up. I'm summarizing the data from these studies that we've seen from states have been doing this for years. What are we finding from them? And there's a study that was done on Texas, not too long, it came out in the last 4 months. And so I'll have to look and see, I'll see if they have anything specific to class size, but from what I've seen anecdotally for class size, 24 is a lovely number. I've seen some that have 20. I haven't really heard much less than 20. I mean, if you have that, rock on, that would be awesome. But 20 is one that I've heard and that people were happy to have in that range, the low 20s, because then they're able to give students the help they need. Also, are you guys using embedded tutors?
That's what I was just going to say. The problem is that we're having trouble hiring tutors. They're short staffed, so they don't have extra people. We used to have what we called shadow tutors, where they would be in the classroom with us in our developmental classes, but they just don't have enough. So, and I don't see that problem going away, but.
Yeah, because I mean, having them in the classroom, I was going to say, if you can't get it as low as you want, that would be one thing, to have an extra pair of hands and someone who can walk around and help. Is 20 for the amount of, I mean, like if you made that change, would that be too much in terms of, like, would you have the staffing to be able to do it? I guess is what I'm wondering.
Very good question.
Yeah.
My guess is I will be having to hire more math faculty that can do that. And hopefully our director of tutoring would be able to hire more professional tutors too. We'll see.
Well, I'm curious, does anybody else who's already doing co-requisites have any comments about what class sizes you're using, what's working or what's not?
We have class sizes of 24 in the 100 level target classes. We did set up our co-recs to also be capped at 24. But we set it up so that if an instructor is teaching, let's say 2 sections of introductory statistics, they have one co-rec section paired with both of those. Because the idea is, it's not that everybody in your class is going to be below the 2.5 high school GPA and things like that. And so it's not been required this semester that they take the co-recs. So we actually had to talk our admin into letting us teach the co-recs with like 5 or 6 people in them. So they actually ended up a lot smaller than what we're going to think. But we've also met with the faculty teaching these classes. Okay, how many people do you think should be in the co-rec based on all your classroom observations and things like this? And it's generally 30 to 40% should be in the co-rec. So that 2-to-1 ratio, if you had like 48 people in your target courses, you'd have 16 to 20 in the co-rec,
Mhm.
which would be big enough that the class would run,
Mhm.
but small enough that you could still give the individual help. So that seems like a good, how do I want to say, a good target ratio there, 2 to 1. It's kind of weird because then if you end up with somebody who teaches 3 sections of a class, what are you going to do with that? But that 2 to 1 ratio seems to be pretty much on the spot, even going forward based on, and then we're just kind of doing it as we go.
Also, question, because that's excellent, because I have seen that idea of like 2 and then going down to 1, and because you don't need a 1-to-1 ratio of co-rec to, or they'd all be really, really small if you had a co-rec for every single college level class. I'm wondering, Mark, what specific courses are you talking about co-recing? Is it college algebra? Is it stats? Is it all of them?
So we'll have a co-rec for our, like what we're calling, like, what are we calling Math 114, guys? Intermediate, and help
We
me
haven't
out.
come up with a name, but basically intermediate algebra with math literacy embedded.
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
And so there'll be that'll have a co-rec, and then college algebra, a stat, and a QR course. So those are our 3 college level courses.
Because one compromise that you could do is see, I mean, like, because 24 is a nice number, and I'm seeing, other people are seeing 18 and 20. I mean, if you can get it down, obviously that's nice, but sometimes it's not necessarily feasible with staffing and budget and everything like that. Is it possible to try it with, like, we typically know that college algebra is the hardest co-rec. Could you try it with just those sections? And then it wouldn't be such a heavy lift for, like, for Rhea, I'm assuming your administrator.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be
That's fair.
such a heavy lift for trying to staff all of that
Right.
if you didn't do it with every single course.
Yeah, I was thinking, yes. My thought was for what we're going to call Math 114, the intermediate algebra, is hopefully to get that one at 20, because those would be the students that have below a 2.5 GPA coming out of high school in
Mhm.
there. That would be in that co-rec. So I think they're going to need the most support.
Yeah,
So
I would agree.
definitely.
Anything that's heavy on algebra, they're going to need more support probably.
Mhm.
Not that they don't all need it, but that is just particularly challenging usually. So,
Okay.
Joy wants to know what % of your classes are online?
None of these courses.
Well, yeah, well, no, stats. We have.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Statistics, as I knew better than that.
Yeah, stats, there's 2 out of 5 sections are online, but we do not have any online for the others, math classes.
Okay, so speaking of that, do any of you, and pardon me if I've asked this before, but are any of you offering or going to offer co-rec online?
We discussed that as recently as last week. We do have online versions of college algebra, math for liberal arts, and intro to statistics available. Those are taught each semester. What our VP Provost Academic Affairs person said was, if we're going to require the co-rec, then the co-rec has to be available to everyone. What we previously said was we don't support online classes with co-recs. And so we kind of split the difference on that and said, okay, if they're in the online class and they need the co-rec, and I just added these in the past week to our schedule for fall of 23, is that we have the class asynchronously online, a lot of videos, a lot of things like that, just like any other online class. If you need the co-rec is Wednesday night from 6 to 8. So if they're working all day, but if they're weaker and have a lower GPA and they want to do it online, they have to come in one night a week to do it, or else they can't sign up for that class.
And that's what I was going to recommend. That's what I've heard from other schools. I mean, sometimes they'll do it synchronous Zoom. Sometimes they do it actually in person on campus if all their students, but if you really want to accommodate schedules, it is nice if you can do it synchronous Zoom. But if it's only 1 or 2 hours a week, that's more, it's doable. And I think that's a good compromise. It's really hard to do asynchronous college level math anyway. To add co-rec to it is really hard. So.
Right. And I had it was on Thursday. I had my online Zoom office hours for my online math for liberal arts students last night. I only had 3 people show up, but we spent 1 hour and 47 minutes with 3 people, and they learned a lot in 1 hour and 47
They did.
minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, but they got to be willing to put that time in at least once a week.
Yeah.
Not to be rude, but it's kind of like going to church.
That's good. Okay, so I'm curious because your goal is to come back on, well, first off, let's make sure because I mentioned this briefly, but then I don't think I actually finished what I was going to say with this. Our schedule for the accelerator, the first meeting, 2:00, April 4th. I want you to be able to come to that and have a list of tasks in your table. You don't have to write them in addition. Just like I want you to have those tables with, I mean, maybe you don't have every single one of these because not all of you need to do every single one of these, but you need to have some specific tasks in here and what's going to happen, who's going to do it, when, and when's the deadline. That is the main thing. And if you're like, we don't really have that yet, that's what you need to work on. That it's a pain in the butt to do, but you will be grateful that you have it because then it makes implementing so much clearer. Okay. So I'm curious, who would say that they have tons of tasks and who's in that boat? Like, we got a list. Any school got that? Not all at once. That's your homework then. That's the main thing. So let me see. Oh, shoot. I wish we'd had, well, that's the main thing we need to work on then. Because I know the schools, I work with so many schools, the ones that have that, they can just implement and they can assess and change and adjust if they need to. The ones that they don't have a list. They're just kind of like, well, we know we need to work on, the lowest course, or we know we need to create a college algebra co-rec, things like that. If you haven't narrowed it down to what does that actually entail doing, if you haven't answered those questions that I put in italics, you're going to constantly be looking at each other going, okay, now what are we supposed to do? And who's going to do it? That's the difference in making it happen or not. And it doesn't mean that that one person has to do all of it. Spread the load around. That's the idea. So that's the big thing is for your homework for April 4th is getting, finish making decisions, getting tasks listed that you are going to be doing and who's going to do them and by when, so that you're able to transfer them into the blueprint document. Let people know that hopefully you've been keeping people up to date in your department or people that are going to be impacted by this or other people in student affairs, whoever it is. Let them know we're heading into the accelerator. Here are the dates. Now we've got to actually go to work. And again, some of you have already been working on things. I get that. But the things that you've come up with most recently, now it's time to go to work and put them into action. That's what I'm getting at. Nobody's been just sitting around doing nothing for years. I know that. We have an office hour next Thursday, 3:00 Eastern, again, always optional. And then we have our first accelerator meeting, April 4th. Let's see. Oh, once I went through my entire list of all the people who needed, who didn't get either the right modern math login or needed a reset. Moral of the story is I contacted Debbie. I'm like, we're resending all of the emails. And instead of resending them, because the way we did it before, and I don't know when I'm going to learn this lesson, the way we did it before is we sent it to your point of contact and asked them to forward it on to all of the math faculty. That would be lovely. But the problem is usually the person it gets to is their email is usually has the most stuff in it anyway. And so it kind of gets buried sometimes. So we're going to send it to multiple people, whoever we have on your contact list that's from your school. So like Ria, you will get it. Mark will get it. There'll be multiple people that will get the email, hopefully someone, and then feel free again, forward it to anybody else in your department. And you have a school login and password. Anybody wants an individual one, you just need to reply back and we will get you one. Gary.
I just wanted to add a quick footnote to this. We're already at 4:00, but 2 things. Number one, we've already done a lot of all this individual work. We've created the courses, we've adjusted our schedules, we've done all of this and that and the other. We've implemented guided self-placement. the glue that's going to make this work, which we don't have set yet, okay, is getting everybody on campus to understand how this works, getting everybody to put their students into the right courses. So, and we're just constantly having meetings with various people on campus, and that's really been helpful for us. We've got people from just enrollment management, we've got people from counseling, from all over, and that's the only way that we're ever going to actually implement all these changes.
Okay, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because you're exactly right. I mean, I definitely had that in the schedule, but that you're right. We all need to focus on that regardless of where you're at with it. It doesn't matter if you're 5 years into it or 5 months. Education, training, and continually doing that. So that's one of the things, I love that you said that, Gary. That's one of the things we'll focus on then in the April 4th meeting, is I want to give you guys some specific things that you can use. But what do, let's talk about how are you sharing this information, because that's where your implementation lives or dies. And with fidelity or not, is how it is interpreted. And the more things that you can do to make it clearer and easier to implement, the better it will be. But once it gets, dispersed amongst the masses, then, it's going to change. So thank you, Gary. I'm glad you said that. And that's what we will hone in on, because it doesn't matter who you are, that applies.
Can I add footnote number 2?
Okay.
Footnote number 2, I guess I would kind of challenge the math people at the other colleges who are on the meeting here today. I think you really need to think hard about how much your non-STEM students really need that intermediate algebra class.
I agree.
Because I spent years at Muskegon going to meetings, talking to people about getting their students, and most of the people who have trouble with the intermediate algebra, maybe 80% of them, they're getting put into math for liberal arts right now, and that has a pretty good pass rate. I mean, 70-75%, pretty good. And the rest do statistics. They have a little bit harder time with that class. But we're not even offering anything called intermediate algebra anymore. And I guess I would just challenge people to think about that.
Totally agree. And you're going to hear me continue to push on that too, because I know we get down to a little bit of philosophy, but if I had to choose between a student having a tons of algebra or never having college, and that's the thing. There are students who'd be like, that's my requirement, I'm not going to do it. And I don't think that stats is lesser than. I know some people do. I think if anybody has mathematical understanding and fluency and they can use it in their adult life, we've achieved something. And that doesn't just mean algebra. One thing I forgot to mention, and I'm glad Nicole asked, yes, you will be getting new calendar invites, same Zoom link, but new invites for these dates. You'll be getting email reminders of these new dates. When we have the ones for the 3rd quarter of the year, we'll do that as well. But we want to make it as easy for you as possible. But I totally echo what Gary says, and that's one I would really encourage you to have that discussion. If a student comes to an advisor and is not declared on their major, where do they get directed? What are they told to take for math? Find out what's really happening and then have a conversation if that's what you want to be happening. That's what, and we're also going to look at data. We're going to look at all kinds of things. There's lots more to come in terms of figuring out what's working and what's not. And what's nice is those things are usually not quite as painful, intensive as hard work. It gets a little bit better as we go forward. Okay, anybody else have any questions? And also, if you need help individually with your college, just reach out to me. We can always set up a separate time and I can work through and help you with some issue if, going forward if you need that. So you just have to reach out. Anything else before we hop off here? I think I gave you my list. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll get this recording up as soon as we can and work on those plans. And I shall see you. If you come to office hours, I'll see you next week. All right. Have a great weekend.